Afro-Exim Bank plans to invest $700 million to set up Caribbean Exim Bank. World Food Price Index falls for fifth month in August. OPEC says more than $12 trillion in investment will be needed between now and 2045 to help meet expected growth in oil demand. This is Business Express on a network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. Welcome to that time we keep you updated with happenings in the world of business. I will start by telling you that experts have continued to react to cases of building collapse across the country. While most blame the lack of compliance to standards, a town planner, Madili Okumabua, advocates a mixture of traditional science and technology in architecture to ensuring standards that are environmentally friendly, safe and affordable.
Whether it's collapsed building or buildings that don't look very beautiful, not well maintained, different things like that, is because the curriculums that we're using in our schools are very Eurocentric. The architecture that we are taught is not based on our own perfected science and technology that we have been doing for centuries, for thousands of years. You talk about the mosque in Guinea. How long has it been standing? Decades, centuries. The architecture that we see in certain parts of the continent, those clay structures that are standing and are being maintained. How come? Why? It's because that architecture was built with the indigenous science and technology that we know, that we have mastered. So you can imagine if we're bringing that knowledge into the classroom and sharing it in design studios, in labs, students will be perfecting those materials, right? Standardizing those local materials so that we could build what we know how to design, create, build, and maintain. We will know how to create architecture that is affordable to us. Our clay, adobe, laterite, sand, mud, as they say. Take those materials that our ancestors have perfected, bring them into the classroom today, research hubs, and we will standardize those materials so that the buildings we are creating, we know how to maintain them. We know how to maintain those buildings in our villages. Imagine a modern version. So that is the issue, is bringing that science into the classroom, perfecting it. Our buildings will not fall because we naturally know how to build them well. We used to build story buildings back in the day. We are lucky that a lot of people took photographs. You can actually see photographs of two-story, three-story buildings in traditional Nigeria, in Yoruba land, of course in the north, right? Throughout the Sahel, you see them, Senegal, Mali, you go around and you see these buildings.
The House of Representatives has urged government agencies responsible for revenue generation, collation, and monitoring to improve on mandates in order to bring down the 11.3 trillion naira projected deficit for 2023. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that it was when the Controller General of Nigeria Customs Service, Hamid Ali, appeared before the Finance Committee to present the service's revenue generation profile.
We have an approved target of 2.272 up to July collection, 1.167 trillion.
We must do all within our means to harness the potentials within our environment because, like I stated earlier, every couple at this moment matters to the Federation.
We talked about 11 trillion deficit and borrowing for 2023. How much is the revenue there? The responsibilities, I think, are on both sides. Query the various expenditure lines and see what it is we can handle.
Well, moving on, food and everyday necessity is now everyone's business, following the global issues from climate to supply disruptions, geopolitical tensions, and security. It has now become vital for every sector of the society to focus attention on food security. Well, Nigerian stock brokers are part of the bodies driving the position, and you may wonder, how does agriculture relate to stocks? On the program today, Mr. Oluwole Adeosun, who is the president, Chartered Institute of Stock Brokers, will be speaking to this and other issues. He actually joins us from Lagos. Mr. Adeosun, how is Lagos this afternoon? Well, it's like we're having a connection problem, but we'll get to rejoin Mr. Adeosun briefly. But for now, let's take a look at transactions at the market, which just closed. The market closed on positive, while we have the month of September sustaining momentum as trading on the floor of the stock exchange ended the week in green. At the close of trade this Friday, the all-share index advanced 50,045.83 basis points, as market capitalization also rose to 26.993 trillion naira. Investors exchanged 240 million shares valued at 2.677 billion naira in 3,435 deals. FCMB, Stanbic, and E-Transact were the toast of investors. Well, at this point, let's also see transactions at the global market.
Hello and welcome to the Global Market Review. Let's begin from the US, where stock futures were flat in early trade this Friday as investors await a key jobs report for August that will give more information about the state of the economy and could determine the pace of future Federal Reserve interest rate increases. Now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average added 16 points, S&P 500 topped 0.02%, and the Nasdaq Composite was down 0.12%. Asia-Pacific markets were mixed. The Nikkei 225 in Japan was almost flat at 27,650.84. The Hong Kong Hang Seng Index was also down by 0.74%, while the Shanghai Composite gained 0.05%. European markets advanced on Friday to round off a bruising week. The German DAX rose 1.37%, while UK's FTSE and the French CAC both rose 0.7%. African markets are still little changed after another unsteady trading session. South Africa's GSE Africa Top 40 gained 1.01%, with Morocco's Free Float Index and Ghana's GSE Composite also marginally positive, while the Tune Index and Namibia's overall index depreciated. And that's Global Market Review. I am Neka Oko.
Thank you, Neka. From that global update, we rejoin Mr. Oluwole Adeosun, President of the Chartered Institute of Brokers. How is Lagos this afternoon?
Lagos is fine. Lagos is fine, weather is cool.
Good to know. Same for Abuja. Well, let's kickstart the conversation. Against the background of the need for the federal government to exploit opportunities in the commodities space to grow the economy, what is the stake for stockbrokers in all of this?
The stake for stockbrokers, as you mentioned, is that critically at this period we are having our annual stockbrokers conference. And one of the critical areas under focus will be the commodity trading space. For this conference, there is an array of seasoned professionals in the commodity market that will be discussing various relevant issues in the commodity space in Nigeria. We have arranged the managing director of the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange as one of the lead speakers. He will be supported by MD of Dukia Gold, that is the refining company of gold in Osun State. Will be supported also by the FX commodity exchange, and several others. We have brought these speakers together.
Okay, okay, Mr. Adeosun, Mr. Adeosun, this issue of commodities exchange is what the government and also the private sector is looking for to grow the economy after the effects of the pandemic. I'm talking about non-oil exports since oil prices have continued to fluctuate. Is that one of the reasons why you're taking agriculture, and how far are you taking this, and what is the level of enlightenment to broaden the market for farmers and those who engage in such businesses to get returns on investment?
Okay. We are focusing on commodities exchange and principally on agriculture at our annual conference for 2022. And the reason is to set the agenda for the federal government to productively exploit the commodity exchange mechanism in the Nigerian capital market. And also the fact that the agricultural sector is fundamental to the Nigerian economy, employing about 35% of the country's population. The sector contributes positively and approximately about a quarter of the country's GDP, gross domestic product. This is significant, despite the presence of crude oil. Consequently, agri is a sector that has been of topmost priority to the Nigerian capital market. Two companies in the agricultural sector, Okomu Oil Palm Company and Presco PLC, have ranked among the highest price gainers on the equity segment of the Nigerian capital market in recent months. It is on this basis that the 2022 annual Global Conference is going to beam its spotlight on agriculture, exploring the nexus between the agricultural sector and the capital market as drivers of employment and economic growth, and profiling effective strategies to restore Nigeria to the path of double-digit growth in gross domestic product through agricultural development and exploiting the commodity market space.
Okay, you mentioned two entities that actually succeeded in trailing the blaze, but that number possibly might be small. Can you just let us into much more of the opportunities in the capital market for agricultural development in Nigeria?
Well, there is so much opportunity for the capital market. So, the agri sector, look at the value chain of agri from the front end to the back end. There are various opportunities along the way, and on this plane of the agricultural value chain, you have companies that are big, you have companies that are small, micro, medium enterprises. They should be encouraged, and the capital market will encourage them, provide them funding to enable them scale up, to provide them funding to enable them expand their capacity and be able to produce enough for the country to feed the teeming population of Nigeria and even export. There is a lot to do along the value chain, and all of this at the end of the day, when resources are provided, when funding is provided, when the capital market provides a platform for them to be able to showcase what they are able to do and expand their capacity, then you will begin to see massive development in that sector. So the capital market is a very capable tool to enable these entities along the value chain to expand their capacity and be able to get to the dreamland that they have in their projections for their strategy, and to be able to meet their capacity output levels.
Okay, talking about massive investment in that sector and with the capital market providing the platform for such funding. Yes, funding has been the issue. But where is the place of capacity building? I understand that money is not just enough, but how you use this money to get the best out of it. Now, where is the place of your institute, operators and policy makers putting heads together to ensure that aside this funding, where is the place of capacity building?
Well, the place of capacity building as far as the institute is concerned is with respect to advocacy, making a case, as we are going to do at this conference once again, which we do every year, making a case for agricultural development, making a case for the commodity trading space as a veritable tool to expand. So we we take advocacy very seriously. We make representation to the authorities, we make representation to the federal government, we make representation to the state government, we make representation to other stakeholders in the value chain of the agri and the commodity space in the country. And with the advocacy that we make, people are able to hear the possibilities that the capital market can provide. People are able to hear about the capacity that should be built around the two sectors, and then be able to bring in additional resources in place. You know, the resources, the labor, and everything, the land, and everything, the capital, and then the entrepreneurial spirit that is necessary to as factors of production that we yield to massive output in that area. As you know, like I said, the sector contributes 35% of the labor market and then 25% of the GDP. We can only increase it. The ideal thing is to increase it, and that is what we are advocating. Even for those that are seeking to come into government, that you need to develop this area even more to be able to improve the GDP of Nigeria and improve the socio-economic well-being of the citizens of this country.
Okay, Mr. Adeosun, you have spoken to how unique this particular conference, this year's conference is. So what are the expected actionable steps to be taken afterwards? We usually have talk shops, we have wonderful policies. When it comes to implementation, it's always a challenge. Are you planning anything different?
Well, it's always very unique when we have conferences like this. We are critical stakeholders will be in agenda. They will speak. They will be asked questions. There will be cross-referencing of ideas. And after this, we have the communique that we go to the respective agencies of government, respective arms of government, the ministries, the parastatals that are responsible for the theme of the various conferences that we have held. So the same way that we've done it before is the same way we're going to do it here, and it's always achieved much desired impact. The leading voices in government that helps, and also in the private sector, they all come together to hear what we're going to say during this conference, and we send the communication to them. And based on this, the private sector, they consider that in their strategy, decision, and implementation, and then also for the government too in policy making.
Okay. So collaboration is the way. Collaboration is the way to go.
Yes, it's the way to go. We are going to have the Minister of Agriculture. We're going to have the Director General of the Secretary and State Commission. We're going to have
all the critical stakeholders involved. Okay, thank you so very much, Mr. Oluwole Adeosun, President, Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers of Nigeria. I wish you very well in your deliberations. Thank you so very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
Moving on, the first ever African Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum Active 2022 has commenced in Bridgetown, Barbados, with the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, announcing that it would work with governments of the CARICOM to set up a Caribbean Exim Bank, and that it envisaged committing an investment of $700 million in the Caribbean. Professor Benedict Orama, president of Afreximbank, told participants at the opening that there had been tremendous progress in accelerating the membership of CARICOM nations in Afreximbank, and that signature of a participant agreement would enable the bank to operate in the region and deliver concretely on the new vision with the theme One People, One Destiny, uniting and reimagining our future. Active 2022 has been structured to provide an important opportunity to bolster bilateral cooperation and to enable the Caribbean and African business communities to establish new commercial and strategic relationships, to expand trade, and to source necessary inputs for the design and manufacture of high-value products between the two regions. It will also enhance government-business relationships between Africa and the Caribbean and increase inter-regional trade and investment, leading through to effective business matchmaking. And OPEC Secretary General Haitham Al-Ghayas is of the view that for the global community to attain the much-needed energy sufficiency, there is the need for increased investment in all fields and technology, adding that only such an approach can guarantee the attainment of secure, affordable, and reliable energy for all. This is contained in the address ahead of the G20 Energy Transitions Ministerial Meeting in Bali. Algiers further highlighted the essential role that steady and stable investment flows play in enhancing energy security and market stability. He noted that the world today is witnessing in real time the consequences of the chronic underinvestment and needs more than $12 trillion in investment across the value chain between now and 2045 to help meet expected growth in oil demand. Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development Dr. Mohamed Abubakar is engaging the Nigerian Society of Engineers to provide local technologies that will drive mechanized farming and rural development in Nigeria. Ikechukwu Ndukwe reports that the minister made the appeal as a guest at this year's Engineering Week and Annual General Meeting held in Abuja. The report.
The Nigerian government is suffering from oil theft and losses, which has affected the nation's economy. Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development is one ministry government is leveraging in its diversification drive. Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development is tasking the Nigerian Society of Engineers to provide technology that will see the country lead in mechanized farming in Africa.
The ministry is open to and will continue to seek and expand areas of collaboration with professional bodies like yours.
At the center of the operation of the ministry and all parastatals under it.
I am glad to report that the branch has modestly contributed to the federal government's desire to diversify our economy in the post-COVID-19 era.
The Nigerian Society of Engineers says a lot of technology already in use by mechanized farmers in Nigeria were locally produced, promising to increase capacity of local farmers through strategic engagement.
And now let's take a look at the commodities market for today. Well, this is where we end this episode of the program. Business Express returns on Monday at 3 p.m. Don't forget, you can access all previous episodes on YouTube. You can also catch up with us on the various social media platforms of the NTA. I am Benny Adams saying, have a fulfilled weekend.